I'm 79 years old and I'm talking to you from a small room in a nursing home. It's not a terrible place. The staff are polite, the sheets are clean, the food is edible. There are flowers on the reception desk that someone remembers to change once a week. On paper, it all looks fine, but there's a kind of quiet here that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like something has ended and everyone is just waiting for the paperwork to catch up. I never thought I'd end my life in a place like this. When I was younger, I used to picture something different. I thought I'd be in a small house somewhere with a porch, maybe. My wife in the kitchen, the smell of something cooking, grandkids running around, toys left on the floor, somebody yelling, "Grandpa, you have to see this." Too many shoes piled by the door, noise, mess, life. Instead, I have a wheelchair, a bed with rails, a call button, and a window that looks out over a parking lot. I'm not telling you this because I want you to feel sorry for me. I've had 79 years. A lot of people get less. I'm saying this because sitting here alone, I finally understood something I wish I'd known a long time ago. And at my age, if you have a truth in your hands, you either say it or you take it to the grave. The strange thing is, at 79 in this room, I feel the same way I did when I was 7 years old, orphaned. That's how my life started. My parents were gone before I was old enough to really know them. I've been told different stories about how it happened, and at some point I just stopped asking. None of the versions brought them back. I grew up in places that never felt like they belonged to me. Orphanages, foster homes, rooms that always smelled faintly of old blankets and cleaning chemicals. The adults changed, the walls changed, but the feeling didn't. You learn early in those places that you are not at the center of anyone's life. You're an extra, someone they're responsible for, like a plant they didn't choose. They'll water you, they'll keep you going, but you're not really theirs. What I remember most are the holidays. Before Thanksgiving, before Christmas, there would be this buzz in the air. Parents would come in, kids would leave with coats half-zipped, their arms full of bags and presents. Cars would pull away one after another. The noise would slowly fade, the doors would close, and the building would get too quiet. I was one of the kids who stayed. The staff would try. They'd put on a movie, maybe bake something, talk a little louder than usual. But when you're sitting in a big room decorated for a holiday and most of the chairs are empty, you understand something very clearly. Other kids have a place to go. You don't. I started to notice a pattern. The kids who had someone waiting for them weren't perfect. Some of them were loud, some of them talked back, some of them broke things, but they belonged to somebody. They were theirs. I didn't feel like I was anybody's theirs, so I did what a lot of kids like me do. I tried to make myself worth keeping. I learned to be quiet, to stay out of the way, to say yes quickly and no almost never. I made myself useful. I helped set the table. I carried boxes. I fixed little things I barely knew how to fix just to hear someone say, "Good job." If someone needed something, I wanted to be the first person they thought of. In my child's mind, I decided that was the way to earn love. Be necessary. Be the one no one can do without. If they need you badly enough, they won't let you go. That was my logic. Nobody sat me down and told me I was wrong. When I was a teenager, maybe 16 or 17, I remember lying in a narrow bed in one of those places, staring up at a ceiling with a brown water stain shaped like a crooked tree. I could hear the building settling for the night, pipes knocking in the walls. I made myself a promise. I said, one day I'm going to have a family, my own family, and no one in that house will ever have to wonder if they belong there. No one will stay behind while everyone else leaves for the holidays. I didn't know what love was. I'd seen it in pieces on TV in the way some parents looked at their kids when they came to visit. But I hadn't felt it in that deep, safe way people talk about. So I took what I did understand, being there, showing up, doing what needs to be done. In my head, that became the same thing as love. If I could be the man who never left, the man who always said, I'll take care of it, then my family would feel safe. They would feel wanted. They would never feel like the extra chair in the room. That was the promise I carried with me when I walked out into the world at 18. No savings, no parents, no one to call if it all went wrong. Just that stubborn idea in my chest. I found work in a factory on the edge of town. At first I swept floors, hauled things, did whatever they told me. It was loud in there, machines clanging, engines running, men shouting over the noise. After a while I watched the mechanics, learned from them, got my hands dirty. Eventually, they trusted me with real work. I became a mechanic. I fixed conveyors, engines, anything that rattled the wrong way. I'd come home with grease under my nails and my back aching, my clothes smelling like oil and hot metal. It wasn't fancy. No one was impressed when I said what I did. But I had a steady paycheck, and for a kid who'd grown up sleeping in rooms that never really felt like his, that meant something. That's where I met my wife. She worked in the office, answering phones, typing up orders. The first time I really noticed her, she was laughing at something one of the other women said. Not a polite little laugh. A real one from the belly, the kind that makes other people turn their heads. She didn't pity me. She didn't look at me like I was broken or less than. We just talked about nothing and everything, the weather, the town, how the coffee in the break room always tasted burned. It was simple the way we fell together. We went for walks after work. We sat on park benches sharing cheap ice cream and stories about our days. She told me about her parents, her sister, the little house she grew up in. I didn't have much to say back on that front, but she didn't push. When I finally told her about the orphanages, the foster homes, the holidays spent in half-empty rooms, she didn't say, "That's so sad." She just put her hand over mine and squeezed like she was saying, "You're here now, with me." We got married in a small church with fading paint and squeaky pews. Nothing grand. Some friends from the factory came. Someone brought a lopsided cake. I remember looking at her in that second-hand dress, her hair pinned up in a way that kept coming loose, and thinking, this is it. This is my family. This is where I belong. We didn't have much. A small rented place, some mismatched furniture, hand-me-down dishes. But we had each other. And in those early years, that felt like enough. Then the kids came. First one, then another, then a third. I remember holding each of them for the first time, the weight of that tiny body in my arms, the softness of their heads. I remember thinking, "You'll never feel the way I did. I won't let that happen." I threw myself into that promise. I took every shift I could at the factory, overtime, weekends when they offered it. I fixed things around the house, the car, the sink, the loose floorboard. If something broke, I had a wrench in my hand before anyone even finished the sentence. My wife would say, "I don't know what we'd do without you." The kids, as they got older, would say, "Thanks, Dad," when I drove them somewhere or paid for something or stayed up late to help with a project. I heard all of that as love. I thought, this is it, I'm doing it right. I'm needed, so I must be loved. Years passed like that, work, home, sleep, repeat. I'd get up before the sun, come home after dark. Sometimes I missed a school play, a game, a meeting with a teacher. I'd tell myself it was temporary. Next time I'll be there, once things calm down, once we have a little more saved. The trouble is, there's always a reason to delay being present. There's always one more bill, one more chance at overtime, one more thing that has to be done. At home, I tried to show love the way I knew how, by doing. I wasn't good with words. I didn't grow up hearing "I love you," so it didn't come naturally. But I kept the heat on. I fixed the car. I made sure there was food. When someone had a problem, I looked for a solution. I didn't talk much about what I felt. Half the time, I didn't even know how to name it. My wife changed over the years, too. We both did. At the beginning, she'd wait up for me, ask how my day was. Later, she was too tired, busy with the kids, the house, her own job. Our conversations turned into schedules, logistics, who was picking up who, what needed to be paid. She still said, "I don't know what we'd do without you," now and then. And every time I held on to that. Then around 50, my body finally cashed the checks I'd been writing with it. It happened at the factory. One of the machines jammed, and I climbed up to look at it like I'd done 100 times before. A step, a slip, and then a pain so sharp it stole my breath. My back. That was the beginning of the end of the life I knew. There were doctors and scans and words like compression and degenerative and chronic. Surgery helped a little, but it didn't fix it. I couldn't stand for long, couldn't lift more than a few pounds. Some days I could walk with a cane. Some days I needed the wheelchair that's sitting in the corner of this room right now. I couldn't go back to the factory. Not really, not in the way I had before. And just like that, the man who had always been strong, always been useful, became something else. At first, my family tried. My wife drove me to appointments. The kids, when they were home, would carry groceries, help me in and out of the car. They were kind, concerned, afraid even. I could see it in their faces when they thought I wasn't looking. But time is heavy when someone in the house is always in pain. The medicine made me slow. The pain made me short-tempered sometimes, even when I didn't want to be. I hated asking for help, hated needing it. I'd still try to do things myself and then pay for it for days after. One morning, not long after I came home from the hospital, I woke up and couldn't get myself out of bed. My back just refused. It felt like if I moved the wrong way, I'd split in half. I called for my wife. My voice cracked when I did it. I think that scared me more than the pain. She came to the doorway and just stood there for a second looking at me. I could see the dark circles under her eyes. the lines that hadn't been there a few years before. She sighed in this way that went straight through me. "Can you help me sit up?" I asked. She rubbed her forehead and said, without looking at me, "You're going to have to wait. You don't have anywhere to go anyway. The nurse will be here later." Then she walked away. She didn't hit me. She didn't curse me. She was just tired, so tired that the man in the bed asking for help wasn't her husband in that moment. He was a job. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling the old pain from my back, and a new kind of pain I didn't know how to name. I thought about all the years I had spent being the one who came when someone called, the one who lifted, carried, fixed, paid. And now, when I was the one who needed, I was something to be scheduled around. That was the first time the thought came to me clear and sharp. What if they never loved me for who I am? What if they only loved what I did? I pushed it away. At 50, you still believe you can fix things if you just try harder. But life didn't go back to what it was. It couldn't. The bills piled up with my medical stuff. My wife took on extra work. The kids graduated, moved out, started their own lives. They'd come back to visit, but more as guests than as people who lived there. The house changed. The sounds, the smells, the energy. I became the man in the chair in the corner, the one people talked around. The "how are you feeling" was just a stop on the tour before everyone went back to their own lives. My wife started spending more time next door. At first she said she was just helping the neighbor with some things. He was a widower, needed a hand. I understood that. I told myself, she deserves a life. She deserves laughter that doesn't have to tiptoe around someone else's pain. Still, the first time I saw them together through the window, standing a little too close, sharing a joke that made her throw her head back the way she used to with me, it felt like something in my chest just let go. I wasn't angry the way I thought I'd be. Not just angry anyway. I was empty, like I'd been slowly moved out of my own life and someone else was renting the space. I don't tell you that to make her a villain. I don't think she is one. I think she was tired of living in a house built around my broken body and my old promises. People break in different ways. That was hers. It was one of the kids who brought up the nursing home. "Dad, you'll get better care there, more help. They know what they're doing. We're all so busy and Mom's exhausted." I heard the rehearsed quality in the words. I heard my wife's voice behind them. They said they'd come visit all the time. They said it would just be for a while until things settled. I nodded. I said, "I don't want to be a burden." That's the line we use when we're trying to make other people feel better about putting us away. The day they left me here, they stayed a couple of hours. We arranged some clothes in the drawers, put a family photo on the bedside table. My wife straightened the blanket like she used to do at home. Then there was that awkward moment when everyone realizes there's nothing left to unpack. My daughter hugged me a little too tight. My sons shook my hand like I was a man they respected but didn't quite know. My wife kissed my forehead. "We'll be back soon," she said. They were at first. Every week, then every other week, then once a month. Phone calls in between, short ones. "How are you feeling, Dad? We're all so busy." We'll come by next weekend, okay? Sometimes they did. Sometimes something came up. And I sat here in this bed, in this chair, by this window, and I watched the parking lot fill up and empty, and I started to ask myself harder questions. If I couldn't fix their cars, if I couldn't drive them to the airport, if I couldn't watch their kids, if I couldn't reach for my wallet when the check came, who would still be there? If I stripped away everything I did for them, everything I provided, everything I solved, who would sit in this room just to be with me? It's not a pleasant line of thinking. You won't find it on any inspirational poster. But old age is a ruthless editor. It cuts out everything that doesn't really matter and leaves you with whatever's true. The truth I came to sitting here is this. Most of the time in my life I wasn't really loved. I was needed. There's a difference. Being needed feels powerful when you're younger. People call you, ask for you, depend on you. You get to be the one who shows up with the answer, the money, the ride, the fix. You start to believe that you are the sum of what you do for other people. For a long time, that belief kept me going. It made the long shifts and the missed dinners feel worth it. But need is a frail thread to hang a whole life on, because one day your back gives out, or your hands shake, or your mind slips, and the work you spent your whole life doing, holding everything together, slips out of your reach. Then what are you? I don't blame my children. They grew up inside the system I built. I taught them that I was the one who handled everything. I never showed them my softer parts, my fears, my loneliness. I never asked them to sit with me just because I wanted their company. I didn't know how. I thought protecting them meant hiding everything that looked like weakness. I thought love was shielding them, providing for them, solving their problems before they even knew they had them. I taught them that my value was in what I did, and they believed me. My wife, I think she loved the man who made her life easier, the man who carried the heavy things and fixed the broken things and made the money appear in the bank account. When that man disappeared and this version of me took his place, the one who needed help to get out of bed, the one who forgot what he was saying mid-sentence sometimes. She didn't know how to love that man, and I didn't know how to ask her to, so here I am, 79 years old. My parents gone before I knew them, my marriage gone in everything but paperwork, my children living their lives in other cities, good lives, busy lives, lives where I am a phone call every few weeks and a line on a holiday card. Anyway, I ended up where I started, orphaned. The difference is, now I understand how I helped build the road that brought me back here. If you're listening to this, and you feel like your only worth comes from what you do for others, from being the strong one, the reliable one, the one everyone calls when they're in trouble, I want to tell you something I wish someone had told me. You are more than what you offer. If the only way people know you is through your usefulness, they don't really know you, and it's not always their fault. Sometimes it's because we never let them see anything else. I spent decades saying, "Don't worry, I've got it," when I should have sometimes said, "I'm tired," or "I'm scared," or "I need you to just sit with me for a while." I thought I was sparing them. Maybe I was just hiding from them. If I could go back, I wouldn't stop helping. I wouldn't stop working hard or showing up. Those things matter. They're a kind of love too. But I would also let myself be a person, not just a function. I would show my kids who I was when I wasn't fixing something. I would tell my wife what it felt like to carry that promise from childhood, the fear that if I ever stopped being useful, I would lose everything. I would ask them plainly, if I couldn't do any of this, would you still want to sit next to me on the couch? Would you still want to talk to me about your day? Would you still think of me as yours? Maybe their answers would have scared me, but at least we would have been dealing in truth. I can't do that now. Time doesn't run backward. What's done is done. What's not done stays that way. I sit in this small room, in this chair, watch the light move across the floor, and I try not to lie to myself. I wasn't the worst man. I wasn't the best. I was someone who did the best he could with what he knew. What I knew for most of my life was this: if you are needed, you are safe. Now I know that being needed gives you a role. Being loved gives you a place. I had a role in my family. I'm not sure I ever really took my place in it. I don't know how much time I have left. Years, months, days, at some point they all blur. I won't be the man in any one story for much longer. That's all right. The world goes on. It's supposed to. If anything I've said means something to you, just sit with it for a while. Don't rush to fix it or turn it into a rule. Just look at your own life and ask yourself quietly, if I stopped doing all the things I do for everyone, who would still come knock on my door just to be with me? You don't have to tell anyone your answer. You don't even have to tell me. I'm just some old man in a room you'll never see. But if you're younger than me, and chances are you still have time. Time to let people know you, not just use you. To let them love you, not just need you. As for me, I'm here. The nurses are kind. Sometimes one of them lingers a little longer, tells me about her kids, laughs at one of my old stories. There are small moments of warmth even now. I started life as an orphan. In some ways, I'm ending it like that too. But between those 2 points, there were years of work, of trying, of wanting better for the people around me. That counts for something. I can't change where I ended up. I can only be honest about how I got here and hope that maybe someone listening will choose a different path. For me now, that's enough. Thank you for listening. Reflect on it and above all act before time decides for you.